Hello, my name is Ripley. Welcome to the video.
What's up, schmucks? Before we get started, I want to let you know about a tiny little thing called the G-Words Podcast. The G-Words Podcast is the podcast I do with my YouTube friends. It's the Wild West of podcasting because we have no rules, no filters, no limitations. We'll say anything, man. We don't care. We talk about all kinds of wacky things. Sometimes we do Would You Rather. Sometimes we have guests. It's a real free-for-all. Anyway, the links for that are down below if you're interested. So with that out of the way, let's review Eternals. Eternals is the 26th film in the Marvel Cinematic Universe and the third MCU movie to release in 2021. The critics and a lot of general audiences have been really harsh on this movie, calling it bloated, messy, boring, and overall subpar. And in my opinion, I think this movie's amazing. I really loved it. I have a lot of praise for this movie and a few complaints, but no spoilers, don't worry. So we're gonna burn through this because I still have to review Big Mouth Season 5 by the end of the week, unfortunately. However, the second this movie releases on Blu-ray, I will be immediately rushing in to do an in-depth review because I have a lot to say on this movie. But that's for a different video on a different day. For now, let's start with the good and what I really liked about this movie. First up, the cast. The cast here is amazing. Everybody gives it their best and absolutely shines. I honestly can't pick a standout because, again, everybody's really great in this. However, I felt that Brian Tyree Henry was particularly good, especially with some of his line delivery in the third act, just so good. And to nobody's surprise, Kumail Nanjiani steals every scene that he's in. But that's not to say that everybody else wasn't great. Everybody's fantastic in this. While we're talking about characters, I want to say that I genuinely felt like any of these guys could have died at any time in this movie, which is something you never feel for an MCU movie. Like, I know Shang-Chi's not going to die when he goes and fights Death Dealer. There's no concept of stakes or suspense in that. But here, I really felt like a bunch of these guys could and would die. And the main reason I felt that way is because they don't need these characters to stick around. And it's probably for the best to kill a couple of them, because these are easily the strongest characters we've seen in the MCU up to this point. Makkari and Ikaris would body every Avenger in a matter of minutes. So yeah, you can't keep them around forever, because they would solve every single conflict the Avengers ever have. And I had that notion in my head the entire movie, which probably helped contribute to a lot of the tense moments in this movie. So that is more of a me thing, but again, I really felt like some of these characters were going to die, and you never feel that for a Marvel movie, and I have to commend that. However, there was one character who I absolutely loved by the end of the movie, but is also the Eternal with the least amount of depth, and that was Makkari, played by the beautiful Lauren Ridloff. She just kind of shows up towards the end of the second act, but once she's here, she's incredible. And I really loved what director Chloe Zhao did with the speedster. I think we've seen enough of people moving so fast that everything else is slow, so seeing a speedster just moving faster than sound in real time was really exhilarating, and you really get a sense of how powerful a speedster is in combat during this movie's third act battle sequence. Speaking of battle sequences, the fights in this movie are amazing. I'm always ragging on fight scenes in the MCU because they're bad, but here they're really good. There isn't a lot of close quarters hand-to-hand combat, but there is a lot of people shooting lasers, throwing swords around, doing big punches, and it all looks fantastic and is filmed beautifully. I can't segue into this, but this movie does and doesn't feel like an MCU movie. It doesn't change the game too much, but in terms of pacing, the story being told, the cast, and the presentation, you could easily mistake this for a non-MCU movie. And that last point, presentation, is so important here. The MCU kind of has this gray look to it, which I'm not criticizing, but it is the way the movies look. However, this movie doesn't have that, and instead, it utilizes real natural lighting. Every location in this movie feels like a real place and features the actors on location with some CGI elements added in afterwards, opposed to actors standing in entirely CGI locations like most MCU movies. And this look and feel to the scenes changed so much for me. Just to see an MCU movie look so different and quite frankly look better heightened my enjoyment because I was actively loving every shot. Just some quick notes here. This movie has a lot of heart and 3 distinct scenes that made me tear up, which I don't really have that. Movies don't make me cry, but some of these scenes, man, they hit me right where I live. I love that. This movie is also surprisingly funny. I didn't expect it to be, but it is. And also, this movie is not boring by any means, at least not for me. It is a slower movie than what we had been getting, like Shang-Chi and Black Widow, since those movies were pretty fast paced and pretty much moved at a clip, but the pacing here is good and everything is consistently moving forward. However, the movie does take its time, but even then, I was never bored. There is a lot of exposition in this movie, which some may have an issue with, but I thought it was done really well. There is some breathtaking visuals that aids the dialogue and the sequences that are introducing some interesting concepts to this universe. And also, there's a lot of ground to cover, so exposition was kind of inevitable. And that's most of what I really liked without going into spoilers. Now let's talk about what I didn't like. First up, Crow. What a garbage villain. I forgot he was in the movie half the time. Also, I had no idea what he was after. Like, I understood why he wanted to kill the Eternals, but beyond that, I had no idea what he was really trying to do. He's also one of a few villains in this movie, but the other ones can't be punched the whole movie, and it becomes quite clear that Crow and his deviants are just plot devices so the Eternals have something to punch every once in a while. I really don't have that many criticisms. Like I said, I really liked this movie. My only other complaint, I guess, would be the lack of characterization from Makkari. You never really get to know her like you do the others, and she kind of feels hard done by in this movie, which sucks because a deaf superhero, that's amazing. Lauren Ridloff is amazing. And again, when Makkari is on screen doing stuff, she's amazing. But also, she's the second most powerful character on the team behind Icarus, so if she was around the whole time, it'd be hard to keep her from solving every issue in a heartbeat. So I kind of get why you would sideline her, but on the other hand, she needs more of a character. Walking out of this movie, I loved her and I liked seeing the things she was doing, but I don't know anything about her. I don't know what makes her happy. I don't know what makes her sad. I don't know what motivates her. I don't know what she's been doing on Earth for 7,000 years. You get that with every other character except her, and it's just, I don't know. I need more for this character. I'll still buy her hot toy though. If they make a hot toy of Makkari, I'm right there, man. Pre-order day one. Are you kidding me? Also, I do have one other complaint, but it's spoilery, and it's also more of a personal grievance more than a criticism. So I'm gonna put this on screen. You can just skip to this time to avoid it, or you can listen if you don't care about spoilers, or if you already saw the movie. But if you saw the movie, why are you watching a review? What are you doing? All right, you ready? Here we go. I loved Evil Icarus, and everyone fighting him on the beach was nothing short of amazing. Makkari just giving him the business and beating him senseless, that was my favorite thing ever. I was giggling like a schoolgirl, that was awesome. However, I am getting really sick of evil Superman-esque characters. Like, it's too much at this point. I get it, it's a fun concept, but we don't even have a good regular Superman. Why do we keep getting all these evil Supermen? Like, what are you doing? I mean, come on, we have Homelander, Omni-Man, the one from Jupiter's Legacy probably, I didn't see it. Now we have Icarus, and I know we have Tyler Hoechlin, and he is really good, but I need something like that in the movies. Just make a good Henry Cavill Superman movie. It cannot be that hard. Just do it. That's it. That was my criticism. I don't like all the evil Superman we're getting when we don't even have a good regular Superman. I don't know. It's upsetting to me. In the end, I really liked Eternals. I think it's a gorgeous movie with a lot of heart and some truly sensational characters, even if one of them is criminally underdeveloped. I also never felt like this movie was struggling to introduce the concepts it had to introduce. I never really felt like this movie was bloated or going for too much and just falling short of that. I felt like everything Chloe Zhao wanted to do with this movie, I feel like she did it. This is a movie driven by its characters, but also by its dialogue, and I really enjoyed both of those things. Similar to my thoughts on Man of Steel, I was a lot more engaged by the world building and the dialogue and the characters in this movie than I was any of the action, although the action is impeccable. However, this movie does suffer from one of the worst villains in the entire MCU, a really underdeveloped member of the core cast, and but that's it. Thank you for watching, and have a fantastic day.
This concludes the video.